Welcome to our deep dive. We're tackling the psychology of selling today. You sent us Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling, and we're going to pull out some really useful stuff. No matter what your level is, you can boost your sales game.
Yeah, we'll break down the main points, give you actionable advice you can actually use, starting right now.
Love it. Okay, so one thing that really stood out to me was Tracy's emphasis on the subconscious mind. He uses to-do lists in a way I'd never thought of before.
Right. He's not talking about just listing your tasks. He means list all the reasons WHY those goals matter. Like, why do you want to hit your sales targets? He's saying prime your subconscious to work towards those desires.
So instead of just close the deal with X client, it's close the deal with X client because, and then list all the amazing things that'll come from that.
Exactly. You got it. And this isn't just some fluffy self-help stuff. It actually works. Tracy talks about these two sales managers. One had a tiny list of reasons, like, I want a new car, and the other had a huge list.
I think I can guess who stayed motivated.
You bet. The one with the short list. Easy to get discouraged when things get tough. But that manager with a ton of reasons, a new house, vacation, early retirement, their subconscious is like a powerhouse working toward that.
Wow, so it's like their subconscious is pushing them even when it gets hard. That's incredible. But Tracy doesn't just stop there, does he? There's also the whole thing about how we talk to ourselves and how that impacts our sales.
Yep, he suggests looking in the mirror every day and say you're the best salesperson around.
That sounds kind of cheesy, to be honest, but I'm curious.
I know, right? But the idea makes sense. When you say positive things about yourself over and over, you're basically creating a picture in your mind, and your subconscious starts trying to make it real.
So if you keep telling yourself, I'm confident, I'm successful, I'm amazing at this, your subconscious starts believing it, and then you start acting like it.
Exactly. But the same thing goes for the negative stuff.
Yeah.
If you're constantly thinking about the worst sale you ever made, replaying those failures, your subconscious might make that happen again too.
So like if you're about to walk into a big pitch, right? And all you're thinking about is how you messed up last time, that's gonna totally change your energy. Versus like remembering a time when you crushed it.
It makes a huge difference. So yeah, pay attention to your self-talk, not just on the job, but all the time. What are you telling yourself? Is it helping you or is it dragging you down?
That is such a good question. It's like, it's not all about techniques and tricks. It's also about what's going on in your head. So we've got the subconscious working, we're staying positive. What else does Tracy say about setting ourselves up for success?
He's big on never stopping learning. Like, try to learn one new thing in your field every single day.
I love that. I'm all about constant growth. There's actually a story Tracy tells, right, about this client who listened to an audio program every day.
Yeah.
Like on his commute. He'd learn something new and then try it out right away.
Yeah, and it paid off huge for him. Like, he basically doubled his sales just from that little commitment to learning. But there's another piece to this too. It's about your reference group.
Reference group? What's that all about?
Basically, it's the people you spend time with, your network.
Yeah.
And it has a massive impact on your success. Tracy says you got to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
Spend time with people who inspire you, people who share your drive and your values. He even had this example of a sales manager. The guy was like consistently average until he realized he was hanging out with the wrong crowd. They were holding him back.
So he like ditched the negative people and started hanging out with a superstar?
Exactly. And it was a game changer. He started asking for advice, watching how they did things, and it's like their winning attitude rubbed off on him. His sales shot up.
Wow, that's wild. So what you're saying is our environment really shapes us.
Big time. If you're around people who are always complaining or settling, it's going to be tough to reach your potential. But if you surround yourself with people who are driven, supportive, then you'll be amazed at what you can achieve.
Okay, so for our listeners, take a look at your own network. Who are you learning from? Are they lifting you up or are they holding you back? What do you think?
I think that's a crucial question. Your network can be a powerful tool, or it can be a major roadblock to your success. Choose wisely.
Man, this is some powerful stuff. So we've got the subconscious, positive thinking, our network, all that before even talking to a customer. What about when you actually get face-to-face with a potential client? What did Tracy have to say about that?
He emphasized the importance of asking the right questions. It's about uncovering your customer's needs. It's a critical skill.
Yeah, I get that. Think about it. If you're talking to a salesperson and they're just going on and on about features, not even asking what you need, that's so frustrating.
Totally. And you'll probably lose the sale.
Tracy says customers don't buy features. They buy because of how those features can solve their problems or help them reach their goals.
So it's not about launching into some generic sales pitch. It's about taking time to really understand what they're looking for. Exactly. You ask the right questions to understand their situation, their motivation. Like, what do they want to achieve? Let's say you sell cars and a family walks in, right? Instead of just listing off specs, you ask about their needs. How much space do you need? Good gas mileage important. Safety a top priority.
And by asking those questions, you're showing them you actually care, right? It's not just about making a sale. You become a problem solver.
Right on. It makes them feel heard, which builds trust. It makes them more likely to buy from you. Preparation is key.
Totally. Before you even meet a customer, think about those questions. What are they struggling with? What are they hoping for? What are their biggest fears?
Yep. Then you can guide the conversation. Really understand their needs. Show them how your product can be the solution.
It's like being a consultant, not just a salesperson. This is giving me a lot to think about.
That's the power of understanding the psychology behind it. It's about connecting on a deeper level.
We've covered so much: the subconscious, positive thinking, networks, asking the right questions, and we haven't even gotten into, like, the actual sales techniques yet.
We've got more to unpack.
Oh.
Brian Tracy hit some fascinating points about the social currency of products and how understanding that can make you a better salesperson.
Social currency. Interesting. What did he mean by that?
He was talking about how people don't always buy things just for what they do. You know, their function. It's often about status.
Yeah.
Or how it makes them look to other people. Like you kind of image they're projecting.
Oh, so it's not always about logic then. It's about emotions and image.
You got it. Why do people buy designer handbags or fancy watches? It's not always because they need another one. It's about what it says about them, their taste, you know, their success, their place in the world.
Like they're buying into a certain tribe. I like that. It's fascinating.
Think about it. Tracy uses this example of a department store, right? The salesperson sees a customer. The customer's got this high-end designer bag. So the salesperson, they kind of pick up on that.
Yeah.
And they steer the customer toward the luxury watches. Talk about the craftsmanship and all that.
It's like they're reading the customer's mind,
Yeah.
picking up on those unspoken desires. So smart.
It is. And by doing that, by understanding those social cues, you can make a much more personalized experience for the customer. And probably a much more persuasive one. Have you ever thought about that? Like how social stuff influences your own buying?
Yeah, totally. Sometimes I'll buy something and realize later it wasn't really because I needed it. It was more about fitting in or wanting to project a certain image.
We've all been there. It's human nature.
Yeah.
And understanding that. Super valuable. Whether you're in sales or any other field, if you're trying to persuade people, you got to get that.
Okay, so we've got the power of the subconscious, the positive self-talk thing, the network thing, asking the right questions. Now, social currency. Anything else? What other gems did Tracy have about the psychology of selling? I feel like we've covered so much already.
We have. But there's more. He talked about something everyone's felt. That feeling of hesitation before you buy something big,
Yeah.
especially if it costs a lot, like getting cold feet, wondering if you should really do it.
Oh, I know that feeling. It's like that battle in your head between wanting it and wondering if it's actually worth it. So how do salespeople get customers past that? How do you get them to actually commit?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Tracy says successful selling, it's about building anticipation, emotional anticipation, and that has to be stronger than the fear of, like, losing money.
So you're saying the salesperson has to make them so excited about the product and how it'll make them feel that they forget about the cost.
Exactly. It's about tapping into emotion. He gives this great example about a family buying a dog. They're not just buying a pet, right? It's a new member of the family. It's a big deal. And there's so much to think about. Breed, training, temperament, plus the money, of course. Now imagine they walk into the pet store, feeling totally overwhelmed. A good salesperson won't just throw a bunch of options at them. They'll ask questions. Do you have kids? Are you active? Do you have a lot of space? Trying to understand their life, what they really need in a dog.
So those questions, they help narrow down the choices, but they also start to build that trust. Like the family feels like this person gets them.
Right. And then, when the salesperson suggests a specific breed and explains WH why it's a good fit, the family starts to picture it. They start getting excited. All that positive emotion starts outweighing any worries they had about the cost or the responsibility.
And suddenly they're like, yes, we have to have this dog.
Haha, exactly. That's what Tracy's talking about. Building trust and creating anticipation. And it goes way beyond sales too.
You're so right, like negotiating at work or trying to get your boss to give you a raise, even convincing your friend to help you move. It's all about understanding where the other person is coming from and building enough trust and positive feeling that they'll say yes. But how do you do that? Like, how can someone actually project that trustworthiness?
It starts with being real, actually caring about helping people.
Yep.
People can tell when you're faking it.
So it's about being a good listener, asking good questions, showing them you care, not just about their money.
Yes. Tracy also talks about being knowledgeable. You got to be competent. The more you know about your product, your field, and your customer, the more confident you'll seem, and the more trustworthy you'll be. You want to be the expert they can rely on.
Someone who can guide them to the right choice. But it's not just about the facts, right?
Nope. Little things matter. Like following up after a meeting, sending a thank you card, remembering something personal about them. All that builds connection.
It's like it shows you're invested in the relationship.
Totally. It all comes down to human connection.
This has been so insightful. We've talked about everything from the subconscious to how to build trust, and through it all, the message is clear. If you want to be successful at selling or at persuading anyone, really, you have to understand psychology.
It's about figuring out what makes people tick and using that knowledge to connect with them, not manipulating them, understanding them.
It really makes you think differently about how to approach things. And yeah, it totally goes beyond sales. Like, you could use these ideas in all kinds of situations.
Absolutely. Selling a product, negotiating a deal, even just, convincing your friend to watch that movie you like. It all comes back to people, figuring out what motivates them.
So if we had to sum up all of Tracy's insights, like the one big takeaway for our listeners, what would it be?
I'd say if you want to be good at selling, or just good at persuading anyone, really, you got to go deeper. It's not enough to learn a bunch of tricks and techniques. You got to get the psychology.
Right. It's about understanding people, not tricking them.
Exactly.
So it's like tap into the subconscious, stay positive, build a good network, ask the right questions, think about social cues, and build that trust. It's a lot, but man, it's powerful stuff.
It is. And, just by listening to this, you're already on the right track. Keep learning, keep trying things out, and just stay focused on connecting with people. For real.
Love it. That's a great reminder. We can all be better communicators, better at influencing people. And it all starts with understanding these psychology principles. They're at work all the time, in every conversation.
They are. So now that you've got these insights, think about it. How could you use them? Like in other areas of your life?
Ooh, good question. Could you be more persuasive in your next negotiation? Be more influential at work? What about your personal relationships? So many possibilities. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the psychology of selling. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.